In this video, I want to talk about the consequential impact of Air India disinvestment on the Air India employees and how certain recent news has been raising many question marks. The government had decided to sell off stake in Air India, 76% in Air India, 100% in Air India Express and 50% in Air India SATS. The government has also extended the due date for the private bidders to bid for the airline as 31st May, and they're going to reveal the bidders on 15th of June. There's another very interesting angle to it. Air India has stopped recruitment from the past 10 to 15 years, which means there's practically no recruitment that's happening. So if there is no investment on manpower or infrastructure, then how will the company survive? Almost the majority of employees at Air India today are at the age of 55. So if they are going to retire very soon, then who is actually going to remain to run the company? Which means Air India will have no option but to shut itself down or to sell itself off. In fact, in a recent article by PTI, a leading aviation consultancy had said that Air India is headed for 2 years of straight losses, which means that if it is going to be making losses, there is going to be no option but just to disinvest Air India. Air India is a much loved brand. It evokes a lot of fond nostalgia and has a lot of potential that can be unleashed by the right strategic investor. There are many aviation experts who are citing that Air India can only realize its potential with the right investor. However, there are still certain stakeholders and trade unions who are vehemently opposing that Air India should not get disinvested because it is a nation's pride, it is a national carrier. Now today in this video, I want to talk about 5 prime concerns for every Air India employee today. First, most of the employees at Air India are aged at 55. The retirement age at Air India is 58, which means they are just 3 years away from superannuation. Jobs at Air India are non-pensionable. So if they're not going to be getting pension, then how will they be socially secure? There are countries such as Nicaragua, Ecuador, Mexico, Cambodia, Colombia who genuinely ensure a stress-free employment for their employees and for the citizens of the country. Now what happens to the 22,000 Air India employees who've served the national carrier for almost half of or longer of their lives? The government needs to take this into account. Secondly, if the disinvestment at Air India is inevitable, then there will be loss of jobs. Is the government assessing the loss of jobs fairly? Are they coming up with a strategic package in which they are taking care of the pensions, gratuity, volunteer retirement scheme, wages for the contractual workers? This is something that the government must account for. Thirdly, Air India today offers one of the best medical schemes to the employees, to both the present and the retired employees, and also for their spouses. Now, what happens when they retire? If they're at the age of above 50, then buying an insurance scheme for them at this age is really expensive. There were recent murmurs that the government is contemplating on buying an insurance scheme for their employees, but that is not going to be as good as the current medical benefits that they get, and this is something that should continue. Fourthly, currently the present and the retired employees of Air India are entitled to passage benefits, which is free flight tickets for them and their family members. Now this is something that is very unlikely that a private player will also accommodate for. Recently, a senior aviation minister quoted that this is something that should continue and the government should take over these costs either completely or partially so that the interests of the employees are safeguarded. Fifthly, the recruitment at Air India has a quota for the scheduled caste, scheduled tribes, because Air India has been recruiting for your cabin crew, for the engineering staff and some ground staff. So for that, what happens to the quota if the company goes into the private hands? Air India needs to revive itself, and a great way of doing it would be to first try and increase its customer base, and a good fantastic start for the company would be to improve the management and the employee relationships. We recently had a conversation with JB Kadyan, who's a general secretary for Air Corporation Employees Union. He spoke about how the arrears are due for the employees since 2007.
हमारी जो सैलरीज और जो भी हमारे वेजेस हैं वो 1 जनवरी 2007 से ड्यू हैं। 2007 से लेके आज 2018 में हमारी सैलरीज का कोई इंक्रीज नहीं हुआ। उसकी वजह से क्या हुआ कि जो सैलरीज हमारी 2007 में थी आज भी हमारी सैलरीज उतनी हैं। लेकिन एज ए ट्रेड यूनियन हम क्यों नहीं बात की? हमें पता था कि अगर कंपनी की फाइनेंशियल पोजीशन ठीक नहीं है, इसलिए हमने गवर्नमेंट के साथ एडजस्ट किया।
To be able to revive Air India, if the government acts with utmost transparency, is very prudent, they try and improve on and make the bidding process a lot easier for the private players, then definitely the government will be able to get the maximum results of the equity that it continues to hold in Air India.